Hello world, I am Curtis Simpson, and this is the Jectives Affinity Review after 1 week. I was actually going to go live yesterday. I'll just say this up front. I did promote this as saying like, oh, I'm going to go live on Wednesday. I had some family stuff come up, and I just wasn't able to stream. But I think it's a good reminder before we get started with this review. This is just an app. This a lot of people have been pretty vocal, pretty animated, pretty I don't know, just being people on the internet, right? Just screaming into the void, screaming at each other. So a lot of people have been pretty, I don't know, excited about the app, whether that's positively or negatively. Um, there are bigger things in the world than this app. I'm gonna say some positive things. I'm gonna say a few negative things, but just keep that in mind, guys. If you're a designer, if you're a creative, this is just a tool. Please leave comments. Let me know like what you guys think about it. If you're here live in chat, TJ, what's up, man? Good to see you. If you guys have comments about it and stuff, like let me know what you think. But just be decent humans, because. I'll tell you right off the bat, two places to avoid: the Affinity subreddit and the Affinity Discord, because they're not good places to interact with other people about Affinity. Unfortunately, you would think that they would be, but in my experience over the last month and especially the past week, they just haven't been great. But I have a bunch of notes, so this is going to be more organized than the live stream about Affinity, but probably a little less organized than my typical typography news because, with something like this, there's going to be things that like go out of order as we're kind of exploring the app a little bit. But I do have some good, let me give you an idea of what I'm going to talk about today, and you can decide if you want to watch the rest of this. I'm going to go over like my general sentiment about the app, what I have seen from other people, like what the general consensus is in general, and there isn't one. I guess there are two sides to it. Gonna go over some Affinity things, some Canva settings that you probably want to turn off, privacy, AI stuff, cookies, things like that. So I'll show you where to do that. And then I have some resources and stuff like that for where to go and learn more about Affinity, because I'm not a tutorial guy. I'm not going to teach you any tutorials. I'm going to showcase some features today. I'm going to go showcase some features, when I do the next Affinity review at like 1 month or 2, and then 2 months and 3 months. However often we need to do these, however often you guys care for them to be. But I think 1 month will be like a good time to, after this, to like get a feel for everything and give like a full 1 month review. But I don't do tutorials, so I'm gonna point you in the direction of some that I found to be good. But there's a ton of content out there right now. I guess one thing to note about all of this ton of content is, I was actually gonna mention TJ said, I'm excited to see James Ritson back on YouTube uploading photo editing and manipulation related Affinity vids. That's one of the people I was going to mention today. James Ritson is, for anybody that's not TJ, James Ritson is like an actual Affinity developer. Is that what he would be called? A developer? He works on the photo side, and he does amazing tutorials and stuff, and kind of showcasing the features that he personally worked on. So we're going to showcase his channel in a second. If you got any others that you like, TJ, or anybody else that's watching this, shout it out so that everyone can, benefit from that. But yeah, on that note, let's just go ahead and hop into, let's go ahead and hop into the resources since we're talking about it. But I do want to come back to, I am going to come back to some of the features and stuff, or some of the settings to turn off. I also think, TJ says, I also think the built-in chat help AI is named after him. Oh, you're probably right. Is it named James, or it's like Jimmy or something? I turned it off immediately. Let's go ahead and check. I'm going to turn on the screen cap. Okay, I guess my face is still going to be on the screen. If it gets in the way, I will turn it off. Yeah, so the first thing that I did was turn off the AI helper. We'll come back to that. I don't want to get too out of the way, but good point. Very well could be. Since I have these loaded, I lied. Since I have these loaded, let's go ahead and look at a few of the links that I put in the description. Everything I'm going to talk about, all the channels, and then these different Canva settings, they're all in the description. As with all my videos, none of them are sponsored. Whenever I'm reporting the news, I don't do sponsored link, don't do sponsored stories, nothing like that. So the first thing is just this Affinity case study. I talked about this. It's the branding. I talked about this in my typography news. So if you were here Sunday, this is a little bit of a repeat. I'm not going to go through everything, but I did link this in the description just because I think the branding for Affinity, I think they knocked it out of the park. And I mentioned in my live stream on typography news that like, this is not something that any other app could do or any other platform company could do. Like, Adobe couldn't do this. Only the underdog could pull off this branding. And I think they did an amazing job with it. So I just wanted to give it a shout out and then point you guys in the direction for this branding link if that's something that you might be into, because great typography by Ono Studio, great logo. I wish I could remember his name. I think it was Rob Clark that did the logo. Let's see if we can find it real quick. I don't want to say the wrong name. Rob Clark, nailed it. Yeah, great logo. I just think that this was a great exercise in branding and differentiation. I know not everybody, as with everything to do with Affinity, I don't think that everybody is in love with this. And I've seen people making new versions essentially of the old logo mashed up into to be like a replacement. I don't mind the new logo because aside from the color, I would never know what the old logos looked like. If they were all grayscale, I wouldn't know the difference between any of them. Let's move on. I think these are things that everybody should go turn off. So I linked these in the description. There's 3 of them. Let me check the YouTube. Well, I don't know how to see it. Hopefully these are linked in the description. There's 3 of them. I put them under like privacy settings or Canva account settings, I think is what I labeled them as. There's personal privacy, there's messaging preferences, and then there's managing cookies. Personal privacy, the first link, is the number 1. I would go in and just turn off all of these because most of these are turned off by default, but some of them are opt out. Allow general usage to improve AI is turned on by default. So you will be helping train their AI. But then there's a separate one that says allow your content to improve AI. That one's turned off by default. So like they didn't lie in their presentation. They're really not training. Let me zoom in on this. They're really not training their AI on like your actual designs, your art, your creative stuff. They're not training their AI on that, but says they're going to train your AI by default. This is opt out. You have to opt out of it. They're going to train their AI on your general usage of the app. So if you don't want them to do that, go turn it off. And then there's the typical ones that you should go turn off. Allow personalized marketing, control Affinity app analytics, personalized Canva ads on other websites. So they'll be tracking you around wherever you go. That's why you'll see Canva ads on Instagram or whatever social media you're on. Enhance this with third-party providers. Definitely turn that off. If you don't turn off the other one about Canva ads, turn this one off because this is letting them give your information to people outside of Canva. Turn that off. And then share my design usage with other collaborators. I'm not sure if this means like other people. I think this is other people that you're like, share my usage and activity data with editors or owners of the designs that I interact with via Design Insights. That might be like other people if you're collaborating with teams, but I would still just turn it off. And then this last one, absolutely turn off. What is this? Allow your sessions to be recorded. I do think you have to opt in on this, but anybody that would opt in on having their sessions recorded, that's crazy. So yeah, go turn off all the personal privacy stuff. I'm gonna go faster through this. The next one is just messaging preferences. I have the Canva one on because I want to get the news so I can report it to you guys on here and on my typography news channel. But you can just click opt out and you're out of everything. That one's real quick. Opt in. I just want to get the what's new ones so I can report it on this channel, on the objectives channel. So if you want to opt out entirely, I think that would be fine. I don't think you're going to miss anything. Whenever the app updates, which it did today, it updated to like 3.01, there'll be a pop-up in the Affinity app. So you're not going to miss any updates. The last thing is just managing cookies. just always go turn these off. Like, you don't want to be tracked around the internet. So those are all linked in the description. Definitely check out the personal privacy one first, though, because I don't think anybody wants AI trained on them. Okay, let's get to the resources. TJ already mentioned a great one, so let's start with it. And that is James Ritson. This is his YouTube channel. And like I said, he is, let's go ahead and read what he says. Part of the research team at Affinity, software development with a focus on image processing. His channel is not directly affiliated with Affinity. It contains content made on his own time, but he treats it with the same level of care as his job. 10,000 subscribers, 48 videos, but he just started posting new Affinity videos again. So he's been gone for a couple years, but he's back. And he's been on a rampage. He's been posting every day, basically, for the last week since this went live. And I can't did he do any live videos? Yeah, he did some live stuff today even. So he did do a live stream today for about an hour and 24 minutes. Yes, TJ says he has the best teacher voice. I completely agree. Yeah, best teacher voice for sure. I'm not sure what the accent is. Some British accent, says UK right there. As Seraph was originally, is in the UK. So that makes sense. Affinity is in the UK. But yeah, just if you want a resource that is as close to as close to the source as possible, this is your guy, especially if you're into photos. I'm more into typography and vector, but I plan to fully immerse myself in everything Affinity now, everything this new app has to offer, because it's all in one app, so it's so much easier to deal with it. There's not that barrier of having to open the Photos app, which I rarely did unless I wanted to do a quick edit or something. But yeah, I can't recommend this enough. TJ's recommending this too. That's 2 thumbs up. Go check out James Ritson. He's literally part of the Affinity team. And while this is not affiliated with Affinity, absolute top tier, he develops these tools. That's mainly what he talks about, is the ones that he actually develops. And up until today, he was just posting these once a day, but he actually went live today. So if you catch him live, you can maybe ask some questions directly. So great resource. And like I said, about as close as the source as you can get. 2 others that you probably have already seen if you're watching this, but I'm going to go ahead and point them out for anybody that hasn't. I think just a great place to start if you haven't seen it already. If you're like, oh, I want to see an Affinity review and see if this is worth it. If you're watching this 6 months from now, just go download it. The top link in the description is the download. Just go download it. It's free. But I think that Hewson, the CEO of Affinity, did a really fun, great presentation. We watched this live on stream last week, and we were all hyped about it in chat. Give us a thumbs up here. Yeah, he does a great job introducing it and kind of hitting a lot of the high-level features, pointing out that it's free and stuff like that. Great one. The next one is this one. It's also Hewson, and it's a little more, informal, less presenty. It's your first look at the all-new Affinity, and this one's 23 minutes, whereas the introduction, the presentation was just 7 minutes. This one here is amazing as well. So this one is 23 minutes of him literally just walking. I'll just let it play for a second. It's just him walking through the app and talking about a lot of the upgrades, a lot of the stuff that you can do in the app. Some of them, they're highlights that he personally likes. But I'll say 2 things about this while we kind of let this play in the background. Let's get to some, I'll say 2 things while we let this go in the background, get my face off of his face real quick. You can tell that he is a creative. You can tell that this isn't some suit that's never touched design software before that's going to make decisions for creatives without ever being a creative, because the way that he is comfortable in this, he's showing the pigment blend right now. So Adobe recently added this too, but you can see right here, let's go back. You can see how it's kind of gray in the middle when you do the yellow to blue. This is an annoying gradient feature that has always been in these design apps. Now they've got the pigment blend, and Adobe just added this as well, where you can get an actual, what you would expect when you mix green and blue in like an additive color space. So like if you're actually painting, it's different with a subtractive color space, which is what these screens are. That's why we have RGB, CMYK. Not that important, but you can get the color that you're expecting. So that's what he's talking about right here. So like I said, he's going through all these features. He knows it in and out. But yeah, I think that this is a great starting point to kind of get things from the horse's mouth. Why is this important? Because right now there are a ton of people talking about the app, myself included, that are going to get things wrong. James Ritson, Hewson, they're not going to get these things wrong. They're on the Affinity team. They're not going to misspeak. They're going to, they're going to know what they're talking about, and they're not going to publish things that are just blatantly false. I'll get into some complaints about this, about the design community, the Affinity community in general, spreading these fake things right now. But I'm trying to point you in the direction of places that are going to have good, objectively, factually true information. And the CEO of Affinity is going to be one of them. Have CEOs ever lied? Yeah, but this guy's just walking you through the app right now. He's showing you how it works. And we don't have much more to go on in terms of, he's talking about the liquefy filters and stuff right here. We don't have much more to go on. Anything that doesn't come from Affinity, doesn't come from Canva, doesn't come from like someone within the company is just speculation. So I would really put most of my weight in believing what Affinity says, and then, I don't know, 10%, 20% listen to the community and all their speculations. It's fine to be weary, be concerned, because we've all been burned in the past. But Affinity, they haven't done anything to show us that they're going to do anything other than they've done everything that they said they were going to do. The perpetual license is something we could talk about, but everything else, I mean, the app is free. They've kept their promises as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, so Hewson, the presentation was really fun. I rewatched it again just to kind of re-experience that off of stream. But I definitely watched this as well because he walks through quite a few of the features, and he talks about the app in general. And yeah, he's the CEO. He's not going to get it wrong. And also, I just think it's awesome to see that he is a creative, and it really does come through when you watch him talk about this, because he knows what he's doing. He's not like some bumbling idiot that has never touched a design app before. Let me see. I did have one more. It looks like I didn't link it. Shoot. I'll add this afterwards, but I think this is a really important one right here too. So it's, how is Affinity now free? I really thought that I linked this, but I guess I didn't. Oh no, I did. Cameron Adams. I did link this. Cameron Adams is a co-founder of Affinity. He did this video. It's just 2 minutes long, and he's like, guys, here's how the app is free. And let me get a drink of water real quick, and I'll repeat what he's saying on the screen. So he basically goes through and says, like, look, Affinity is free because Canva has a sustainable business. Canva, if you don't know, is huge, way bigger than Affinity. Tons of users all around the world, and they make money from it. It's a sustainable business, so they can give away Affinity for free, not out of the goodness of their hearts, but because if professionals use Affinity, then other pieces of the ecosystem, the design ecosystem, like marketing and people that are just in offices and stuff like that, they will go use the Canva features. They'll sign up for Canva Business or Canva Pro or whatever if the professional designers are using Affinity. It makes sense. So like, we're benefiting, and then the businesses pay for it. Again, people can say whatever they want about this. People can decide, people can naysay about it and say like, they're lying. Like, it's not really going to be free. Maybe it won't be. I don't know. Maybe somehow we'll end up getting screwed over. But right now, this explanation makes sense to me. And it seems like they're being much more open and much more straightforward than almost any other business is Adobe's not going to be out here saying something like this. I don't think there are a lot of businesses that are going to straight up come out and say like, look, we're giving this to you guys because we want these other people to pay. I don't know. And then there's also the people that end up paying for the AI features. So the app is free, but the AI features, if you don't know, you can pay for those. But yeah, so I think this is a great video to go watch if you haven't seen it. It's only 2 minutes, but it's the Canva co-founder explaining how they're able to give away Affinity for free. And look at the end. We know trust is earned, so ask questions, kick the tires, hold us to a high standard. Yeah, for me, this video, this 2-minute video gained a lot of goodwill because it means they're listening to all of the community concerns, and then they've got an immediate response to it. And it doesn't sound like bullshit to me. Maybe it does to you guys. But yeah, so those are like the most official ones. I do have a few that I wanted to mention here. Oh shoot, we're gonna get into some ads because I'm not on my personal account. This one doesn't have an ad. We'll let that one run in the background. Will it run in the background or is it gonna pause every time? I have YouTube Premium, so I never see ads. I don't know. I'm gonna pop this over here so we don't have to look at it. We'll talk about this one instead. This is, I have a few people that I wanted to point out for tutorials. We talked about James Ritson, excellent Affinity Insider. This is Vektorgarten, and it is typically, let me go ahead and pop open the channel. It's typically an Illustrator channel. Lots of Illustrator tutorials, almost 500 videos, 496 videos. But she did an excellent review demonstration of image trace in Affinity. And if you watched my live stream, you'll know, or if you tested out the image trace for yourself, you'll know that it is poor at best, in my opinion. I'm not going to go over all of it right now, but this is one of the big features that they finally released after, what, 11 years. And these are the only two settings that you can change on it is edge threshold and curve fitting tolerance. Does it do image trace? Yeah. Does it do image trace well? Absolutely not. It's I would be embarrassed to release this feature if I was them. But that's just me. This image trace is not good. And if you've never used image trace in Adobe, you've never used it in Inkscape, I think this is a great video to demonstrate why it's not good. It's only 11 minutes, but she does an excellent job. And like I said, she's an expert with Adobe Illustrator, almost 500 videos posted to her YouTube channel. That's what she does. Vector Illustrator tutorials. TJ says, image trace works a bit better at larger scale, but it depends on the detail of the image as well. She does demonstrate on here too. Let me see if I can find it. She took this one right here. So she image traces like the big one and she image traces the little one. And she shows how like the bigger it is, the better it's going to work. But if we look at this panel on the screen right now, these are all the settings that you get in Adobe Illustrator. It's not even remotely comparable, like what you can do. And then the thing is that Adobe actually counts the pixels. So like you can have that teeny tiny one right here and it'll still do the image trace just as good as when it's big. So yeah, there are going to be use cases for sure. It's better to have something than nothing. And I would agree that like the bigger it is, the better it's going to look. But it's going to work in like super simple cases if you already have like a large image. But if you already have a large image, why are you trying to image trace it? I don't know. Maybe someone will showcase like in the next month, and then I'll talk about this next at the 1 month review. Maybe someone will showcase like how to actually make it work, or maybe they'll improve it. But for me, coming from image trace in, I think they used to call it like live trace or something, coming from image trace in Illustrator, I used this in school in 2011, 2012, and it was better 13 years ago in Illustrator than it is in Affinity right now. So for me, I'm not impressed at all, but I'm not a big image trace guy either. So live trace, TJ, yeah, okay, so TJ confirmed it was called live trace. He says, at least it exists now. They can improve on it later over time. I agree. I'm glad to see that they did add it. It means that they are listening to the community, at least somewhat, even if it's not great. And it would be another very good show of goodwill. One, it's a small show of goodwill that it does exist. But it would be great to see them improve and make it better. And then it would demonstrate to the community that's very concerned right now that no new features are going to get added. It would demonstrate like, hey, they're still going to put effort into Affinity and not just try to sell us AI features. So I do agree. Yes, I agree, TJ. It's great that it exists now. TJ says that he used to use image trace to add gritty textures to overlay on type. Yeah, it really was. So I haven't used Adobe in like a year and a half, I guess. Maybe I should have led the whole conversation with this so there was some amount of credibility. I'm a professional graphic designer. I went to school for graphic design. I spent the last 15 years, I guess, or I spent the first 15 years of my career using Adobe. I learned Adobe in school. That's what I used. My favorite app was Adobe Illustrator. I've never been much of like a Photoshop guy. So in terms of like Affinity Photo and Photoshop, that comparison isn't, what would I say? I'm not going to be the most knowledgeable about Photoshop or Affinity Photo, but when it comes to Illustrator, I loved it. I used it every day for 15 years. But Affinity, I switched a year and a half ago. I really don't miss much at all. I miss the recolor feature that was in Affinity, or that was in Adobe Illustrator. And I miss, the live trace, image trace. It could be useful at times, for sure. So do I miss it? It's a nice to have, but it's not like something that keeps me away from using Affinity. But the last thing, I've lost my train of thought. I realized I was chewing gum and I lost my train of thought. Shoot, I'll think of it later and come back to it. But yeah, so I know what it is. Shape Builder. Shape Builder in Affinity is so much better, so much smoother. It doesn't add a bunch of extra nodes, a bunch of extra anchor points, but when there's two, like, let me switch back to the screen cap. When there's two bordering colors like this, how you have the wave that's like bordering colors, when you use the shape builder, and this is how I have always done my illustrations, I use the shape builder, I draw out the shapes, use the shape builder, and kind of make these shapes work together. In Illustrator, it would do this annoying thing where it added a ton of extra anchors, and my file size would end up being, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 times bigger than it needs to be because of all these extra anchors. Affinity is beautiful. It doesn't add any of those, but I got to the like final step of my illustration process, and then there's these hairline lines between every single shape. I haven't tested to see if it's fixed yet, but based on the image trace, it doesn't look like it's fixed. So you have to have a different workflow. But yeah, those are the things that I miss. I really, really, really do like Affinity though. I haven't had Adobe products. I don't have any Adobe products. I have Adobe fonts. That's it. But yeah, as far as like missing Adobe, I don't. I used to use, I've made YouTube videos before. I used to use Premiere. I switched to DaVinci a long time ago because Premiere is not good. It's just really not good. I switched to, I switched to DaVinci before I switched. And then when I switched to Affinity, I didn't miss any of the other things. Photoshop is light years ahead of Adobe Affinity Photo. It's not even close. If you're like, you live and die on generative fill, the new AI features in Affinity they're not going to satisfy what you're used to. They're not even close. Yeah, let me not get too off track here. Let's finish talking about these two other people. Vektorgarten, great demonstration of image trace and how it is just subpar. from an expert at these things. Elaine Giles, this isn't someone that I was familiar with before, but she did like a 2.5-hour live stream. It says everything you need to know to get started with Affinity. This probably won't apply to, someone that's already like an absolute expert in Affinity. But even after using Affinity for the last 1.5 years, this is someone that I found a lot of good information from. She seems very informed. This is what she does. She does these live streams and kind of walks through everything. I think she's more on the publication side because she's very comfortable with the publish section, the layout section of the app. But yeah, so this is just kind of like an intro, like 2.5 hours, very pleasant voice to listen to. And she just kind of walks you through things. I think this is one you could like watch while you were doing something else, doing the dishes, cooking food, something like that, getting ready after your shower. I think this is a good one to listen to kind of in the background and just like pick up pieces as you go, because there's going to be a lot of things you already know, but she really does walk you through in a great way. And she just seems like she knows her way around the new app so well. And I think she posted this like 2-3 days after it released. So yeah, very well informed and very good at demonstrating things. So Elaine Giles, I think, is a great one. And I think that's it for everything that I had on my list. Let's get into the app. So I went over all of the features. I went over all of the privacy things to turn off. If you're just joining, go turn off all those privacy features. They're linked in the description. You really don't want them to be on. I'm going to show something real quick. And this is how this is how the apps run on Windows, at least. I search for Affinity. Oops, I misspelled it. I search for Affinity. I know you're not going to be able to see it on your screen, but the only thing on there is Affinity. You're just going to have to trust me. I do not have Adobe running right now. Like I said, I have Creative Cloud right here, second row, second icon. I do have Creative Cloud. I pay for InCopy like $5 a month just to get access to Adobe fonts. I have a typography channel. I want all of the fonts. So I pay to get Adobe fonts. That's the only app that I pay for, and it's not installed on my computer. I don't have any Adobe apps installed other than Creative Cloud just to sync the fonts. But let me show you. Already, I have 2 Adobe apps running. Startup apps. These are all disabled. These 3 Adobe apps are supposed to be disabled: Creative Cloud, CCX Process, and then some updater. So even though I tell Adobe not to run on my computer at startup, it still has 2 things running. Let me launch Creative Cloud for you. And I know this is kind of like technical. People probably won't care that much. But just so that you can get an idea, if you're on the fence and you're like, oh, I kind of think about maybe I'll switch to Affinity. Affinity is so much faster. Do you see what's on my screen right now? I haven't launched any apps. I didn't launch Photoshop. I didn't launch Illustrator. All I did was launch Creative Cloud so that I could sync my fonts if I wanted to. And all of this stuff is running right now. Is it taking up a ton of CPU, GPU? No. I mean, it's taking up, I guess, like 6% of my CPU right now. But like, why? What is it doing? Why am I running 15 different Creative Cloud apps right now? I just can't comprehend. Yeah, TJ agrees. I don't miss this. I can't comprehend why this is happening. Like, why? And then let me just demonstrate once more for clarity here. You search for Affinity, you have one app. Well, you're gonna see, yeah, you have one app. The other one was my Obsidian is my notes. It was labeled Affinity, but like you have one app. That's it. We're running 3 apps in one right now, and it's got one process on my PC. Even when I expand it, one process. You search for Adobe. I didn't launch any Adobe apps. All I did was launch the Creative Cloud, and you've got all of these things running. It's insane. Now imagine if you're actually launching apps. Okay, getting off my soapbox. But yeah, if you do want Adobe fonts, it's a great trick. but you can see I don't even have my apps installed. I pay for InCopy about $5 a month. Don't even have it installed, but I use this to sync Adobe fonts because it is just probably the best deal in terms of fonts. This is just the thumbnail. I have my Affinity set up to reopen files if you close it with them on there, which I think is great, but I think it's turned off by default. I have a bunch of notes here, and they're pretty unorganized, unfortunately. So if I kind of go from one topic to the other, and it doesn't feel super cohesive, I apologize. Put my face down here, I guess. I apologize, but I kind of want to like review this and just talk about things a little more casually. So I'm spilling water on my face again. The first note, I have notes over here. So if you see me looking over here, the first note I have is like, people are going to get these things wrong. I already said this up front. People are going to get things wrong, myself included. I rewatched my live stream and I kept calling publisher publication, even though it's called layout on here now. So like, I'm going to misspeak. I'm going to get things wrong. The app's been out for a week, but hopefully I'm giving you an objective look at everything. I mean, you can't deny what I just showed you on Task Manager. The difference between Adobe and Affinity, and I should have quit all those things, but yeah. Anyway, so people are going to get things wrong. I do think right now a lot of people have confirmation bias about what's they're stating things that they want to be true, that they're suspicious that are going to be true. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus this review. If things are still being said like a month from now, I'm gonna do my job as a journalist and point out things. But right now, I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and just assume like that they're misinformed because it's only been out for a month. I'm sorry, a week. See, there's me misspeaking right there. But one thing that I saw being posted by like a reputable type designer on social media was that you cannot turn off the AI helper. Your app might have up here in the top right corner, it might have a little help icon. Let me go ahead. Probably I have it in one of these other ones. Let's see, color grading. Yeah, so this is, I haven't touched color grading. So this little help icon up here, it has this, oh, ask Ritson. There it is. Okay, so this goes back to the beginning of the stream when we were talking about James Ritson. TJ mentioned he thought this was named after James Ritson, the AI helper. I think you're right. Ask Ritson. Great eye. That's crazy that you recognize that. I see comments. I'm going to come back to it. I saw people posting that you couldn't turn off this AI helper up here. There is like a note on the Canva website or something that's like, can I completely disable AI? And they say, no, you can't like remove it from the app. It's built into the app. You don't have to use any of it though. And so let me specifically cover this little ask AI helper thing. I immediately turn this off. There's two things you can do. One, pull this out just like any other panel, close it. Then when you close your help, you open your help back up. Oh, I lied. Okay, so if you click that little help button, this nonsense is gonna pop up every time. But look guys, customize your toolbar. Come up here. This is, the top part is considered panels. Or no, the top part's considered tools. Just drag this off. How do you do it? How do you do it? I dragged it off of all my other ones. Let me see how you do this. Customize toolbar. Yeah, there it is. DD double says hello. Double. I'm gonna call you double. Correct me if I'm not, if that's wrong. Says hello. Hello. Yeah, where are you guys watching from? I'm currently in Brazil. I'm from Las Vegas, but I moved here about, I guess, over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, with my wife. My wife is Brazilian, so I'm living in Brazil right now. But where are you guys watching from? You can get rid of this icon. Let me try to figure this out for 2 seconds. If you guys know how to do it in the chat, go ahead and let me know. Customize toolbar. I've pulled this. There you go. You just drag it. You just drag it off. You just drag it off. I must have missed it the first time around. You literally just drag it off, hit the X, and you never see that stupid help icon again. The closest thing Adobe ever came to being able to like let us do something like this is letting us turn the blue icon into a gray icon. Like they would just leave these annoying things on their overpriced software. Okay, I'm getting a little subjective here. They would leave these annoying things on their software. And then the most that they would let you do is just change the color so it wasn't constantly like this little nag in the top of your corner of your application that you're paying for. This is a great segue to like how much you can customize this, and I'm going to get into it, but let's look at chat real quick because I know I'm missing a lot of conversations here. Yeah. So TJ says, slightly off topic, Obsidian is also amazing, and I love the CEO's philosophy on owning your files and future-proofing stuff. Let's take a detour since TJ mentioned it. I was an avid Notion user for 2 years, I guess. I originally used to use Affinity, or not Affinity, gosh. I originally used to use Obsidian. It's free. It's not open source, but it's free. All of these are just markdown files. And this is how I do all of my notes. I have my typography news like stories right here that I do, and I put them all in here. I do my outline on here. You can put images on here, but I just don't. But yeah, I live and die by Obsidian now. It's such a great, I don't know. It's so fast. You learn the keyboard shortcuts and it's just incredible. They do have bases now, which you can, that was one of the things that I was using Notion for. But I'll give you my biggest reason that I use Obsidian, and that is that it doesn't need the internet. It doesn't need the internet. The biggest thing for most people is that it uses markdown files, and you own those files. They're stored on your PC. That plays hand in hand with my thing. When you use Notion, for anybody that uses Notion, if you've ever wondered, like, why the hell is my own Notion running so slow? Why does it take so long for this page to load? Isn't this my page? It's your page that you load up on Notion's web server, and then you have to re-download it every time you open it. They do have this new thing where like some of the stuff is synced to your computer, but most of it isn't. That's just, for me, in my opinion, that's nonsense. I want all my stuff to be able to open as fast as I want. I can like, I can't go into this all right now as much as I want to, but I cannot recommend Obsidian enough as a Notion replacement. You can add images, like I said. I keep mine pretty much text because I like the way that it's clean. But you have like wiki links, so you can like link, like I can link to Affinity right here, and I can go, oh, I mentioned this in Typography News 19. Here's my entire Typography News 19 thing. Here's my article about Fabio Haag that I was going to talk about, that Type Foundry. Like, I can zoom through this app in a way that you just cannot in Notion. So yes, we did get a little off track, but TJ, I'm glad that you agree. And since you did, maybe we can convert some others. Let me just repeat again. Obsidian is free. You can pay to sync it. I don't. I just use Dropbox. I like having all my files in one place. But if you do pay for Obsidian Sync, I think it's about half the price of Notion, and it uses end-to-end encryption. So if you're working with sensitive files, you don't have to worry about it when it comes to Obsidian. So again, no affiliation. I'm not going to earn any money if you switch to them, but I can't recommend Obsidian enough. The keyboard shortcuts, the way that you can just zoom through an app and add templates, and it's crazy. I use it every single day for everything I do. So yeah, good tangent. And I think a good compliment to Affinity for sure. Especially when you're watching tutorials and stuff like that. Keep track of stuff so you remember how to do things. Okay, let me look at the rest of the chat here. TJ, you're in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Oh, but I'm from the UK. Okay, so you're from the UK, but you're in Buenos Aires. Okay, we're neighbors right now. You're in Argentina. I'm in Brazil. You're from the UK. I'm from the US. Pretty cool. Double says, I don't know why, but my YouTube changed my nickname. I'm Diablo from Ukraine, but I'm now in Poland. Look at all of us transplanting. Hello, Diablo. Okay, Diablo. I will remember that. I see your little skull icon. I can remember this. Okay, so I'm going to go through the rest of my notes. Now that you know my secret, I'm sitting here scrolling through Affinity. I tried to organize, or scrolling through Obsidian. I tried to organize them a little bit, but you know, when you have just like random thoughts and you write them down, they can only get so organized. Okay, so let me throw this out there as a thought experiment. If this app released today and like it had never existed before, imagine Affinity never never existed at all. And then at the end of Adobe Max this year, Canva just comes out and they're like, hey, we have this new program. It's called Affinity. You can have it for free. It's basically Illustrator, InDesign, and Photoshop packed into one app. You can pay a small amount to get your AI features if you want them, but it's fine. You don't have to use them. Like, this would be the biggest story in the world. This would, like, in terms of the design community, all of the people that are bitching about Affinity right now, they would be losing their minds because this would be the greatest godsend there has ever been. And yes, I'm being pretty subjective right now, but I can't, it's not that I don't want to call people entitled if they don't like the direction that the app is going, but just think of this in a vacuum. Like, the old Affinity is dead. This is the new Affinity. If this app released right now, it would be insane, the reception that it got. And there's going to be stuff that's wrong with it. I'm going to be critical too, but just in terms of like an app in general, if we just think about this as an app, this is, I mean, a free design app that's basically 3 things packed into one. Now it's also got AI features. It's crazy just to think about. There's 0 downgrades other than you have to get an Affinity or a Canva account. The perpetual license is something that like we could talk about, I guess. Like I mentioned it up front. I've seen some people complain about that. Like, they want a perpetual license. They want to know that they can always have the software, because I guess it's not in the EULA. I didn't check the end user license agreement in terms of like, can I always have this? But I do know, since you have to have a Canva account, one, you do have to sign in the first time you use it. So like, you have to sign in, but you can sign out, you can go offline. I unplugged my Ethernet to check if it would still work. Some internet sleuths have figured out that you have to log in once per year. For me, that's reasonable. That's fine. I'm going to want an update once a year at least. But for people that want to know, like, hey, I can always open this app forever and ever, I guess that is a downgrade in terms of compared to the old ones, because the old ones, if you don't know, I can launch one real quick. The old ones, when you would go into the settings, it would say, hey, here you're logged in as Curtis at curtis@jectives.com. But you don't have to like stay signed in. So let me go to the account. It says right here, your license is active and will never expire. I'm currently signed out. Yeah, I'm not even signed into this app right now. So like the old ones, you have your license, it never expires. Supposedly that's how the new one is. Like, your license, it said free forever for everyone. Hopefully I'm not showing anything on here I shouldn't be showing. You can see my email, I guess, maybe. But yeah, I'm not even signed in this app. I signed out immediately once I activated them. So that's not something you'll be able to do in the new one. That is one thing I guess people can complain about. You have to sign in once a year. But for me, that's not a big deal. Maybe it is for you. And if it is, I can respect that. It's fine. That's a legitimate complaint if that's something we used to have and now we don't. Sure. Crash count. I just wanted to point out, I was taking track because I thought maybe I would have a lot more crashes. I had one crash during live stream. I had one crash the day after, when I was messing around customizing the panels and stuff like that. When I was doing the live stream, we were messing around with the stock images. And then whenever I had a crash on my own, I was just customizing the studio. So there was an update today. Maybe it fixed those. I'm not sure. I haven't had any crashes after that, but I did have 2 crashes, which is 2 more crashes than I ever had with the old Affinity. But it's brand new software, so I would expect that. Already mentioned this, but please just stay off the Discord server. It's not a useful place, not a healthy conversation. People are crazy on there. If you're somebody that's on there, maybe you can confirm that. Maybe you're one of the crazy people, but I doubt you are. Yeah, it's not a good replacement for the forums. I guess that's another thing. I guess we could point this out. Yeah, so Affinity did remove the forums. Terrible decision. Reddit's not a good replacement for like an official forum, because Reddit, you don't want to have to rely on like another service. They're doing the same with Discord, but they replaced their forums with Discord. It's just not a good thing to do. And then making everybody wait for 1 month to find out what the new one was. Is it good to make sure that no one paid for a software that was immediately going to become free and then, in less than 1 month? Yeah, that's nice of them. But freaking everyone out for a month, not really that cool. So there's a couple of complaints I guess I have. But yeah, right now I would consider this pretty close to like the DaVinci model, the Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve right here. I don't know why I'm opening it, but if you don't know DaVinci Resolve, which is what I mentioned that I use to replace Adobe Premiere, it's basically professional grade video editing software. A lot of people use it primarily for color grading because that's like what it's best at. Oh gosh, I don't know what's going to be on here. It's a bunch of book reviews. Cool. So let's just go ahead and one of these. I'm going to skip that for now because I want to show something. The features that are on here are pretty much the same way that Affinity is, in the sense that like you can completely use the app, but once in a while you're going to come into something like this where it says remove background and it's got a little crown next to it, and then you can't use that single thing. Do I like this in an app that I'm using? No, I hate this. I hate when there are features that I can't access. But with free software, you get what you pay for. And would I have gladly paid for software that didn't have these things in it? Yes. But the difference that I've heard people state is Affinity is let me do this. Affinity is a subscription, whereas DaVinci Resolve, you pay one time and then you never have to pay again. Yes, that's true. You get the upgrades the same way you used to with Affinity. But the difference is with this, with DaVinci Resolve, you pay once and then you use the app as long as you want. Use the features that are built into the app. There's no AI. AI costs money. It costs money for those servers to run. It costs for those computations to run. So it makes sense to me. Look at any AI app in the world. There are limits on them because it's very costly to generate these things and use AI, generative AI. There are some machine learning AI features in here, and some of them are included for free. But in terms of like generative AI, what we generally think of as AI these days, these features, they go to a server and it costs money for them to do it. So it makes sense that they can't just give it away for free and let you create unlimited amount of generative AI. So I don't know what the limits are. I haven't tested it out too much right now. I'm on the 30-day free trial. I don't know if I'll pay for it or not. Maybe I will just for review purposes. But do I think that this model is fair? I personally do. I'm going to look at some comments here. Diablo says, oh, Diablo, your name looks right now. That's funny. TJ says, thankfully haven't had a crash yet. Awesome. Good to know. Diablo says, will you compare Affinity and Adobe, for example, Photoshop? Diablo, I can tell you right now, I mentioned this before, I'm not like the biggest Photoshop or photo expert, but there's no comparison. There's no comparison when it comes to the generative fill, those types of features in Photoshop. Photoshop is head and shoulders above Affinity Photo, in my opinion. I came from Photoshop. I used it for, I guess, 15 years. I use it professionally. I used it in school. It wasn't my main app, but I did use it. And the features that I came to rely on the generative fill. This is even before AI. The generative fill, stuff like that, it's just, there's no comparison. Photoshop is better than Affinity Photo in their current states. Photoshop is incredibly bloated though. The one thing that you'll notice as soon as you switch to any Affinity app, whether it's, well, now we just have one Affinity app, right? But the first thing I noticed when I switched to Affinity was how fast Publisher was compared to InDesign. InDesign is so slow, and I don't know why. Photoshop can be incredibly slow, and especially compared to Photo. But now we've got this one app. I haven't had enough time to say like how speedy it is, but it feels very responsive. But yeah, so the Adobe apps are Adobe Photoshop compared to Photo particularly, it's better. But the benefit you get with Affinity is that it's not bloated. Adobe Photoshop started as a photo editing software. Now you can make videos in there. Like that immediately tells you where their head is. The fact that if you watch Adobe Max, the fact that they have an upcoming version of Photoshop that has AI, Firefly AI so embedded in it that you don't have to know how to do stuff in Photoshop. You just ask the AI like, hey, Firefly AI, do this for me. And it just goes and does the stuff for you in app. I actually think that's kind of like the best version of AI rather than generative, like one that can just go do the things in the app for you. But that tells you like how bloated it is, that there's so many features, there's so much stuff that like no human could possibly know how to do everything in there. And it makes the app slow, unfortunately. So that's my comparison. Hopefully that was somewhat useful. I don't, like I said, I'm not an expert. There's probably better people that could talk about that than me. And I'm sure there'll be some new videos coming out. But you could probably watch the old ones and get some idea between Affinity 2 or Affinity Photo V2 and Photoshop and get an idea, because this app, the new one, it's not entirely different. There are some new features, but it's pretty close. It's a small upgrade. TJ says, I really hope they're just remaking a new forum platform on the new site. I found the old one really useful for learning new things, and it must have been great for their SEO AIO too. Yeah, that's something I didn't even point out. The fact that you could search forums. So they do have all of the forums are still up. They're just read only. I wouldn't put it past them. The fact that they went 30 days without telling us anything about the new app, the fact that they're not saying anything about the new forum, other than they have recognized in the Discord that they understand the Discord is not a replacement for the forums. So they know that. I mean, you can complain to them and tell them that again, but they do know that already. So yeah, maybe that we can be optimistic. I'll be optimistic with you, and we can hope that they're going to remake the forums on the new website. That would be a great welcomed surprise. Let's talk a little bit about customizing this. I did point out, oh wait, did I? I meant to point out someone that I linked in the description, but I don't have linked in my, in my Obsidian. Unfortunately, there's a creator that's in the description. It'll be on there, something about customizing the interface. They're going to be much better at walking you through how to customize this than me. They have 3 quick videos. Excellent walkthrough. I'm just going to showcase what I like about this real quick and demonstrate how much you can customize this as far as I figured out in 1 week. Number one, I wish that I could leave this advanced thing up here all the time. I know it's probably small on your screen, but I really like to use this wireframe. Is this called wireframe on here? Yeah, wireframe view, because I work in vectors. I like to see that my lines are nice and perfect. So you can turn on that feature still. You can like show that, but you have to right click and show advanced on that. The biggest thing is are these studios. So when I first was live streaming, I was like, oh man, I really hate that Canva. Like the day this was announced, I was live streaming before the demo, before it was like really announced by Canva. I saw this Canva icon, this AI thing. I was like, man, I really hate that that's just going to be stuck there. It's not stuck there. Similar to being able to turn off the AI helper, you can turn off this. You can turn off all of them if you want to. Can you? Yeah, you can just turn off all of them if you want to. And you can also turn on a bunch of them. So if you're looking for like the old ones that were like the slice and the vector and designer, or you're looking for like compositing, retouching, color grading, those types of things, those are all there. I think that these are really just a jumping off point. And the reason I brought up DaVinci earlier, which I should have left it open, I guess, is that they have kind of like this workflow across the bottom. So you click through those different like studios. It's similar to this, where like you're kind of clicking through the different ones and it goes through like step by step. I think it could be really cool to create interfaces, to create studios that are based on like the steps of your workflow. I don't know if that's going to work for everybody, but I could see that being really useful. Like I said, this is going to be a little bit out of like random order. The keyboard shortcuts are universal now. They don't have to be, but they are by default. So if you go into your shortcuts, I really wish that I'm going to have to look for like a streaming software where I can zoom in on stuff for you guys. But today you're just going to have to trust me. There is a little checkbox here that says apply to all in your shortcuts. And then what'll happen is your shortcuts between all of these different studios are going to be the same. This is different from how the 3 apps used to be, because they had some similar keyboard shortcuts, but they had a lot of different ones. So you'd switch from one app to the other and you would have to like know the different shortcuts. Or if you customize your shortcuts in one app, so like I used to primarily work in Designer, so I would set my keyboard shortcuts there for doing illustrations and stuff like that. And then I would open up Publisher and I would do my keyboard shortcut to get the same like simple thing. And I was like, crap, like I have to set the keyboard shortcut here too. So then I'd have to go to Photo and set it up in Photo as well. You don't have to do that now. You change a shortcut, you have it applied to all, and then it's just across the board. Everything in the app uses the same shortcuts. Great. But there's going to be a bit of like a learning curve, a painful moment right now where all of your previous muscle memory is gone because they changed a bunch of the keyboard shortcuts. And immediately I was going in and changing them all. I was like, I want my old ones back. I want my old ones back. But I do think there's a little bit of the method to the madness. And for me right now, I'm trying to like get used to the ones that they've set, because I do think that I do think that it's going to be useful to have consistent ones, especially as we create more studios. I don't think you're going to want different keyboard shortcuts for everything. Yeah, that's just my opinion. But while we're on like this studio thing, the thing that I didn't notice when I was live streaming, the thing I didn't notice until I started watching some of these other YouTube videos, is you can click this customize tool button here. And I showed this already, but you can literally, see if I can get the corner here, it's been a little tough. You can create a workspace that has every single tool in the app if you want to. Like you can do this, and you can go to like the vector tools. Here's all the vector tools, so you can kind of like find those that way. Here's the photo tools. Here's like the painting tools. So you don't have to like really sort through all these. But if you want to look and see how many tools exist in Affinity, it's all of these. Can you cram all of these into one studio if you want to be a madman, mad woman, mad person? Yeah, you can. But I don't think you will. But what I think you can do is create an incredibly customized studio that's like, maybe you mostly do publication stuff like me. Maybe you're mostly in the layout one, but you want some like real photo editing features in there. Or maybe there's some very specific things that you use every single time. You can throw those in the side panel with the tools and set that up however you want. Maybe you're mostly in photos and you just want like a couple of typography features in there. You can put just those tools in there. Maybe there's tools that you never ever use. Maybe you don't use like burn and dodge, like just pull it off, never use it again. The fact that you can do this kind of blows my mind. The fact that this was never available in an app before this that I'm aware of. Maybe you could do this in Inkscape or something like that, but this is crazy. And you can also change the number of columns that you have over here on this side. So this was one of my biggest complaints. I think Adobe, I don't know if it was Adobe or the old Affinity. I can't remember now. I know Adobe, you could do 1 column or 2 columns. But this one here, you can do between 1 and 8 columns. So you really could stack this whole side panel up with every one of these icons if you wanted. Let's see. Let's shrink this down to like 8 tools wide, and we'll see how long the panel would be. I think that's about 8 to 4. Yeah, so that's 8. So your panel would be like this long if you had all these on there. But like you could probably fit all of these icons on one 8 icon width panel if you wanted to be crazy. Yeah, I think the customization here is just insane. And the fact that you're going to be able to create studios that are entirely its own thing, like what you need it to be. And maybe that'll be studio for like a certain workflow. So like if you were doing a publication, you could have like your photo editing to get, or maybe do your layout first, do your basic layout, then do your typography, then do like all of your the images. So you edit your images. And like this is going to be something we're going to dig into in the future ones, the 1 month review, the 2 month review, the 1 year review, because it's going to take so long for me to get my space perfect. But the same way you can do all of this in the side panel here, I'm going to have to reset this for sure. You can do this with the top panel. What are they calling this? The toolbar up top. So you can add any of the stuff that you'd want up there. Anything that was in any of the 3 different apps before, you can put in that top panel in any of the studios. Panels. This is really, really cool. You don't have to go up to the window icon or the window drop down anymore and like go through and like which one of these is this panel inside of. Instead, you go to customize and then you can just turn these on and off. You want to turn on, I don't know, sources. You just turn on the sources panel and then go drag it wherever you want it to be. You know, you want to turn off the swatches panel, go ahead and search for it. Search for swatches and then just turn off your swatches panel. Like, the ability to customize in this new app is crazy. And like I said, if this app had been, and if you want to fix this after you mess it up, you can do revert. If you wanted it to stay that way, you could say, oh no, did I mess it up for good? Revert? It's not reverting. I think it reverted. It just didn't put my columns back to 8. So let's go, or put my columns back to 2. So let's change this back to 1 column. There we go. So we are back to what I had before. The one thing that doesn't revert is how many icons are in that column over there. TJ, yeah. TJ said he didn't know about the columns. I didn't know until, you know, I don't know, a day or 2 ago when I was watching some of these different videos. So yeah, definitely go watch other people than me, guys. Go watch YouTube videos, even if you think you know everything. Watch them in the background, like I said. Because there will be like that one feature that you're just like, oh shoot, I never knew. Like, how would I ever have possibly known that? Yeah, you can turn on, and turn off just about everything. It is absolutely insane. And I'm really excited to like dig into this and just make it entirely my own. The one UI thing that I actually hate is the context toolbar. I think that this feature is great. Let me go to typography one because this is typically where I'm doing it. So I'm often in using typography here. This one actually is a variable font, but let me find one that's not. Perpetua is not a variable font. This is ancient. I'll try to click on this variable icon up here and I'll click it once and it won't work. And I'll click it again, sometimes too fast, and it'll think that I double clicked it. If you double click the context toolbar, it undocks itself. And then you can move around this dock. So that's cool. You can remove the context toolbar. You can dock it in a few places. You can put it at the bottom. You can put it at the top. You can dock it in like the corner at the top. That's cool. And then as you switch things, you know, just like the normal context toolbar, it'll change. So I switch to the pen tool, it'll switch to the pen, switch to the fill tool, it'll switch to that. But the problem I have with this is that I can't drag this up here and dock it like you can every other panel in the history of panels. What you have to do if you accidentally undock this is double click it. So you have to double click it again and it'll go back up there. Why this isn't drag and drop or drag and dock, why this isn't drag and dock is beyond me, because there will be some moment where you accidentally double click this and then you can't drag it back up there like you intuitively should be able to. So just know you're gonna have to double click that to get the context toolbar back up there. TJ, yeah, oh no. The inconsistency, that's the one that I found so far, but that's a kind of a big one. It's one of those annoying things where you might accidentally do it. The other thing I've accidentally done before is hit the comma key. It's also the left arrow. So if you, or the left like arrow caret. So if you ever have this little divider on your screen from you accidentally hitting the comma instead of the spacebar, that's what it is. It's going to show you the two different views, vector and pixel, or whatever you decide it to be. So those are the two like little annoying things, but this one is pretty useful. It's intuitive once you know what the button is. But that double click, oh man, that the number of times that I've accidentally done that and not known how to get it back up there. I was going back up to view and like going to context toolbar and clicking dock. Double click it. Save yourself a headache. This is a small thing, but the fonts still don't necessarily work. If you're activating and deactivating fonts, they're going to work in the context toolbar, but for whatever reason, they don't work in the side panels. Let me get a layout. It's probably more normal. They don't update for whatever reason in the character panel. So like if you activate a font, so like I use font base, if you activate a font, you don't actually have to like close the app entirely and re-download it, or close the app and restart it. Let me go ahead and activate one of these. Let's see. We'll do ABC Arizona right here. If I go in here and I try to look for it on the left here, ABC, you don't have any access to it. So you might think, crap, I'm gonna have to restart the app. Go up to the top one, like do like you're gonna do text, and you can find it right there, ABC, Arizona, right there. So that's a problem. That's a bug that carried over from V2. I've never filed a report. Maybe I should, because that one's bothered me forever. But if you ever think that you need to close the app and restart it, you don't. It's just that for whatever reason the character panel doesn't update the same way the context toolbar does. So that's another one I found. I mentioned this in the live stream, but the manual for this version 3 for this Affinity one is so much better than V2 so far in my experience. And I typically don't like the in-app help thing, but if you press if you press F2, F3, F4, I'm not sure how this works on Mac because I know that they use those keys, so you might have to push the function button. But F2, F3, F4, keep going. Those will go through your studios. But if you press F1, it gives you the help. And this is the same help that's on the website. So it's really useful. I almost never use these in-app help things, but this one is actually crazy. So like gradient mesh is one of the new, or mesh gradient. Gradient mesh is one of the new ones. We looked at this on the live stream on the release day too, but like, look how fast that is. Like typically this is way worse than in browser help. But like just being able to press F1 and get the help right here. If you leave that little icon in the corner, if you're not like me and you don't pull it off, it's super fast to just go in here and do this. And I could see this being a great way to like actually learn Affinity as well. Like just go through like design fundamentals, go through here. You don't know anything about layers, go learn about layers real quick. Like this is so useful. And then if you're doing like some window, paneling and stuff like that, you could split your screen. If you have two screens, I guess that'd probably be easier. You could get real fancy with it. I have 3 monitors, so I would never leave it on this monitor. But when you just have like a quick question, F1 to get the help panel up. Hopefully yours isn't as big as mine. Get the help panel up and you can ask it a quick question. Even if you just want to know where some tools at. I found that to be very useful. So the no light mode. This is one that probably won't matter to any of you, but as you can see, sorry for the flashbang, I love light mode. Typically at night, I do use dark mode for stuff, but when I'm streaming, I have a light here and a light here, and if everything's in dark mode, it's just like, I can't really focus on the screen, so I like light mode. The lightest that you can get is this gray color that I have right now. Like I said, probably most people won't care about this, but you can go completely black. I love that. But for me, the white on black is harder to read than the gray on black. I have astigmatism, so like for me, really black screens with white text, they get like a halo effect. So I like to use the light mode because I can read dark text on the light screen. So if you're someone that likes light mode, hopefully it comes back, but that's something they did remove in this new version. I already mentioned shortcuts are universal. Marquee, I don't know if this was a feature in the old one or not, but I noticed this when I was digging through the features. Like I'm like the nerd that like when I get a new video game, I go through all of the settings for like an hour before I actually like play the game. But one of the things I noticed was with the marquee, and unfortunately this search inside of this part I haven't found to be quite as good. Well, actually I lied. What you have to do is you have to click on these things on the left. I didn't realize that. So you have to click on the results. Marquee selection behavior. I know you're not really going to be able to read this on your screen, but marquee basically like the when you're dragging out a shape on your screen like this and selecting stuff, not the like photo marquee. There are two different settings for this that have always been there, and maybe there have always been four, but there are two different settings that I know were on there. And it was like select if your marquee touches the box. That's what I'm used to from Adobe. That's what I switched it to immediately. The other option was enclosed. So I'd have to like completely, let me drag this. I'd have to completely drag my marquee around this eyeball to like select him. I couldn't just like do a little bit like this and select him. I would really need to close it all in. Some people might prefer that, but now they have these other two ones that are left to right and right to left. So basically if you did your marquee, I'm going to close this, leave it on touch, close this. Basically if you did your marquee from one side and did the square, it would be like if it touches anything, it selects it. The other one, if you did it from the right down to the left, it would, or the right up to the left, I guess. That would be weird though. If you do it from right to left, then it would only select things if you completely enclosed it. So I just left it untouched because that's what I'm used to, but I could see that being really useful. And I like the granularity of it. I like the granularity of like, of having the option of like marqueing in two different ways and then being able to do both things. TJ, are you saying same about light mode, or am I the only weirdo that likes light mode? Let's see. Yeah, so I do think that's a nice quality of life improvement. The export dropdown in the top right corner of the app. So you might have the help icon over there, but the export icon is here. This is really cool. It can be a little bit fiddly because let's say I selected my little eyeball here and I hit export. It might just try to export only that eyeball, and maybe that's what you want. So like it's only going to export that. That's great to be able to have that option. Just know that like click a little caret, the little drop down next to it, and then you can do like artboard if you want the whole artboard, which is typically what I'm exporting. But you can do all your settings right here in the little corner. I think that's really useful because what I could do, let's say I set it to object, boom, object. Then I can select the eyeball, quick hit export, hit OK. Let me just do this in my download folder so I don't put stuff in weird places. It saves it as my layer.png. So my layer is, I label my layers, the important ones anyway. So that's eyeball.png. And then I export this little affinity icon. That just says curve, so I didn't label that one. But yeah, so then you just export both of those things individually really fast. You can still do, this is one of the keyboard shortcuts that change. And this is actually the one that used to be on Adobe, I'm 90% sure. Command Shift. Oh, I still say Command. I spent too long on Mac. I'm on Windows now, but Control Shift Alt W or Command Option Shift W will bring up the big export thing. And then you get all the stuff that you're normally used to. So, but I think that little quick export in the corner is super useful. If you don't use it, you could always just drag and drop it off, but I think it's nice to have there. Oh, okay. Not light mode. TJ is the same about playing with all of the settings and the menus and stuff. Yeah, I can't help myself. I go through and I just look at the settings. I'm like, oh, what is this? What is this? What, like click through each one of these. But yeah, I would encourage everyone else to do that as well. Like go through this and learn about things, and then like you'll find something you don't know what it is. Like what is depth estimation? They'll give you a little bit about it, but you could go like learn more about what it is and look up the features and like really understand it. Yeah, for sure. Love going through the settings. Unified app means unified assets. Similar to the keyboard shortcuts, but much less annoying, is the unified asset panel. Let me see if I have any on here. So I have a few projectives. I have some for my other Lawndale Club here. Before I would set up my assets in gosh, I can't even remember the names anymore. Designer, I would set them up in Designer, like say I was working with this little eyeball or I was working with my objectives word mark. I would set those up and I put them in like different colors over here in in Designer. But then I would go to Publisher and I'd be like, oh, I need to drop my logo in there. Let's go to the asset panel. Nope. It's not like shared libraries and it's not like Creative Cloud libraries in Adobe. They're all individual. They used to be individual. Now, with a unified app, we have unified assets, and that is a godsend because having all of your assets available in one place, no matter what you're like actually working on, because if you ever deal with branding, you're gonna need to stick your logo everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in a photo app, you're publishing, you're doing some publication, you want to be able to do that, and you don't want to have to do assets in 3 different places. Maybe there was some sort of way to like import assets, but the fact that it wasn't already unified always bugged me, but now I don't have to worry about it at all. So yeah, I can just drop my little eyeball on here. I could switch to pixel mode, drop my little eyeball on there. It seems dumb, but it was the bane of my existence because I would design stuff in Designer and then I would want to drop it in as I was working in the other 2 apps, and I could never do it. Of course you could place stuff, but why have an asset panel if your assets aren't in there? I only have a few more things left. Then we can talk about some other stuff if you guys want to talk about something else. I have found some inconsistency with studios. Sometimes they don't seem to stay how I left them. I'm not sure if I need to right click and say update every single time. I don't know. It probably is user error, but that's something that I have noticed. So maybe just right click and update every time you do something, every time you change a panel, because I think otherwise when you close the app and open it back up, it doesn't save it automatically. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy. Let me see. Convenient even. Yeah, it's convenient for sure. The quick export. Let me see. Oh, this is probably super niche, but in layout, you didn't used to be able to set different size masters, unless I'm crazy. I'm like 80% sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of my old, I'm still traumatized from my Adobe days. But you can set different size masters in layout now, which is really cool. And you can even do like your presets and stuff like that. Let's say you were working in layout mode for whatever reason, and you wanted pages instead of artboards, because maybe you want this to be like a PDF or something like that. You can do different size. Well, that one's not quite enough, but you'll see that it's teeny tiny. You can do different sized masters now. So, I mean, I could drop this on here and we'll see how much it breaks it. I probably shouldn't have done that. Anyway, but I know this is pretty niche, but it's a great quality of life improvement that you can have different size masters in the master pages now. So I'm going to undo, actually, I'm just going to revert this file. I don't know how to, so I'm going to close it, say no, and then open it back up. If you click the A, this will open your home thing. I don't typically like to use stuff like this, but it is pretty convenient. I'm old. I like to do the file open, or at least file drop down to open recent. But the home thing is very useful. If you click the A, you can get to all of your home panel stuff where you can see your templates, recently used files and stuff. Let me see. System color is the accent color. I really thought that this was cool because I like to use my objectives green in everything. And so like when you're doing stuff in here, you're selecting things. These look like they're still blue though, but like you can see on my history panel here over on the bottom right, these colors are green. These little radio, I don't know what you would call these things. These little radio toggles and stuff like that, they're all green. The little check marks, they're all green. If your system accent color is like pink, all the stuff in the app will be pink. They used to all be blue, like just the default Affinity blue color. I think it's really cool that it feels more like your system does in general. So small, but I like those little features. I think that's a good upgrade. Let me see. Zooming 10 million%. This was something they talked about in the thing. I haven't really gotten over that. Like, I remember when you could zoom in 10,000%. Like, you can zoom in so far now that it's just ridiculous. The demonstration they showed in in the presentation, like where they're zooming into like one completely super detailed illustration, zooming into another one. I don't know what the use case would be for that. I can't imagine how many GPUs you need to like keep a file like that open, or how much RAM you would need to keep a file like that open and then be able to zoom into it like that. But the 10 million zoom is just insane. And I'm sure someone has a good use case for it. Let me see. Publisher has Oh, okay. So this was something that someone mentioned in the live stream before, that publisher had the that was technically publisher was already 3 apps in one. Yes, but no. And I did confirm this because on the live stream I didn't want to say the wrong thing. So before in publisher you could go to designer mode, you could go to photo, what they used to call these personas. You could go to these 3 different things, but they didn't have all of the features. I can 100% confirm right now they did not have all the features. So I'm not going to go through what all the features were, but so if someone is complaining saying like, oh, we could already do that in version 2, you couldn't really. But yeah, you could get kind of close, but you couldn't really. And the fact that this app is actually optimized to do everything in one place, has one file extension. Technically, you could open the other ones in, like you could open a publisher file in Designer, and it would add like a weird page like thing at the bottom you could kind of click through, but it wasn't great. But yeah, I guess that's what I have. The last thing I have, I guess I could have mentioned this when I was talking about the Photoshop stuff earlier. The develop panel remains, the develop panel, when you do like a camera raw image, when you import like a raw photo, it stays editable. So similar to doing like a camera raw filter in Adobe Photoshop, the develop panel now stays editable. I'll showcase that because I'm not doing a good job of describing it, but let me look at TJ's comment here. I love the zoom demo. I think that style of vector illustration used to be done in a specific app service. Yeah, that was crazy. If you guys don't know, go watch. I linked it. I think I linked it as like the Canva presentation in the description, or the keynote at Canva or something like that, with the CEO. But the zoom demonstration is absolutely insane. Let me find a camera raw, or not a camera raw, I keep saying that. Let me find a raw photo real quick so I can demonstrate this thing that I was talking about. And then I'll probably get out of here after that because I don't have too much more to talk about and I don't want to just keep droning on. But let me open up pictures, Curitiba. Just do one of these Halloween photos of my daughter. Had a terrible time trying to take Halloween photos of her. Let me go ahead and close this so that it opens in a new one. No. So I'm just going to drag and drop this raw photo on here. It's going to open up in Pixel Persona, I think. There we go. Or Develop Persona. So this is a terrible photo, but it is a raw photo. And this is what happens when you drop in. It goes like this develop thing. If you ever use Adobe, if you use Adobe Photo, this is similar to Camera Raw dropping into Photoshop. If you used Affinity Photo, this would have been like the develop persona. So you click develop. Typically, this would turn into a pixel layer, and you'd be kind of screwed. You got one shot to get your photo ready, you develop it, and then that's it. Not anymore. You can click on this layer right here and go to develop, and you can go back in here and I can completely blow this out and change the saturation to something crazy, boost up the vibrance, just make this photo awful, develop it, and I'm not screwed anymore. This didn't turn into a pixel layer. I can still go back into develop, and then I can fix my exposure. You know, I can reset all of these, reset like the saturation and vibrance, hit develop, and it goes right back out. So now this is very similar, I mean, almost exactly the same as a camera raw filter in Photoshop. Great, great upgrade. This was, like I said, I'm not a big Photoshop guy, but this is one thing that I always used in Photoshop because I don't like destructive anything. I like to have I would open my camera raw and I would just hit load it into Photoshop. Then I would add a camera raw filter and I would edit that. Now you don't even have to mess with that stuff. You can just hit develop anytime you want and go back in here and edit this. So I think that's a wonderful quality of life upgrade. And that's even from someone that's not like a big photo user. So I guess that's going to be all that I have, guys. I appreciate everyone coming and hanging out. TJ, great to see you again. Diablo, nice to meet you. It's fun to see. We got 3 transplants here including myself. So it's fun to see the, we're reporting in from all over the world, and I am going to continue this Affinity review series. I'm not going to do tutorials or anything like that. I've said that a bunch of times, but just so that no one has any expectations of that. But if you do want to see monthly reviews and come and hang out and talk about this, I will be back for the 1 month anniversary. So we'll do a 1 month Affinity review, a 2 month Affinity review. Because I do think that this is, let me go ahead and switch to my face cam, I guess. I do think that this is, I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating here. Maybe I'll change my mind next month. But I do think that this Affinity release is the biggest thing that's happened in design outside of AI. I don't know, in the longest time that I can remember. The fact that Affinity is now free for everyone, and I kind of talked about this on the live stream as well, but the fact that this is free for everyone, is going to make this better for all of us that were already using it. There's not going to be this thing where you create something in Affinity and you try to send it to someone that has Illustrator and they can't open it. If they really want to open your Affinity file, they can go download Affinity for free. Anybody can. You're not going to have this conversation anymore on Reddit where people are on there and they're like, oh, I kind of want to learn Affinity, but I don't know if it's worth the money. Is it worth the money? It's free now. It's free now. So it's worth the money, guys. There's no barrier anymore, and there's no barrier to people that want to switch. I switched during the big 6-month trial that they did last year, which was incredible because that really did get me to switch. I tried to use it before, and I was like, oh no, I can't. I'd run into one problem. I'd be working with a client. I just need to get it done. So the 6-month thing, the 6-month trial, really pulled me over. And then when it came to close to New Year's last year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go all in on Affinity. I'm going to use Affinity for all of 2025. I'm just going to do it. I've used tools worse than Affinity to get my work done. Like I said at the top of the show, this is just a tool. There's bigger things in the world. And if you're a good designer, a good photographer, a good creative, you can still be a good creative even if you were using Photoshop CS3 or whatever. The tool is just a tool. The creative is what really matters. So the fact that people are going to have access to this, I think is, I don't know, it's going to empower a lot of people that couldn't afford professional design software. And it's going to benefit all of us who are already Affinity users, because the more people that use this, the more, I don't know necessarily when I say legitimate it becomes, but the more resources that I can envision being put into this. And as far as the naysayers, pessimists that go about us being the product or something like that, I linked in the description how they're giving this away for free. I'm going to choose to believe their statements on that until they give me a reason not to believe them. CS2, yeah. Yeah, so I am optimistic on this, but I'll see you guys in a month, and we'll see if anything comes up between then. If there's some huge news, I'll do a breaking news live stream. But TJ, very much welcome for another chill stream. Thank you for sharing along. Really good to see you back. I don't have a lot of viewers that show up, repeat a handful, but we're just getting started here. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys around next month. Like I said at the end of the last stream, I'm typically typography everything. This channel is typography. So if you don't want typography for the next month until the next Affinity stream, you don't have to subscribe. But if you want to check out typography news as well, I do typography news on Sundays, and then I do book reviews and stuff like that as I go. I have one coming up right here. Let me go ahead and give a quick preview. I'm going to be reviewing Stephen Cole's full flip through of Anatomy of Type, and actually he agreed to do an interview too. So it should be pretty cool. But yeah, that's what I'm doing outside of drooling over this new Affinity app. So thanks for hanging out. Like I said, I'll see you guys in like 3 weeks when the 1 month review happens. And if you decide to hang out for any of the other videos, I'll see you then as well. All right. Bye.